to it fast. Right here on the Anycast. Make it strong, make it last. Right here on the Anycast.
All right, welcome everybody. I am here today with the incomparable, although wearing a different hat today, Chris Allen.
I have way too many hats. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Matt. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like I always see you in like what is it, a bowler hat? Is that your? You
Yeah,
have
no,
like
that
one
one's
standard.
yeah, that one's a pork pie hat actually, for if you
Ah,
want to get technical about these things, yeah. But
I,
yeah.
I'm not as most people know at this point. I only wear baseball hats, so I'm not a sophisticated hat wearer. But that's okay. Well, thank you for being here. Um, Before we get started, I don't want to tell your origin story in a way that is incorrect or too correct, as the case may be. So, can you give us, for those who don't know you and don't know Red Five, uh, a couple minutes of who are you, how did we get here, and what's happening?
Yeah, no problem. I guess it depends on how far back you want to go. Yeah, I'm sure you don't want my whole life story, but
I mean, all the way back to conception is a long one. So
yeah,
wherever you
yeah,
feel like
exactly.
starting.
Well, I went to school for music, believe it or not. So I'm a trained musician, went to Berklee College of Music, and it turned out to my career in jazz was not as lucrative as my hobby of doing computer science and building things. So that kind of took off in an interesting way. And actually, it started out as with me. So I ended up working for the lab of computer science at the MGH, or Mass General Hospital here in Boston. And we were working on this was during the early 2000s, right? Like and working on a video chat application for nurses and doctors, and them to be able to communicate with their patients, kind of an early telemedicine application, if you will. And the only real way to pull this off at the time was with Flash, and so I got pretty heavily into Flash development. And then it turned out that the only way to really do video streaming in and out of Flash at the time was the Flash communication server. And that thing came with a serious, hefty price tag, right? I think Adobe wanted 50,000 per CPU you run the thing on. Um, and that was like, we're trying to figure out, okay, well, what is this protocol that they're doing? Um, how can we maybe create something that's open source and a lot cheaper because it would be open source, right? And so a group of guys and me actually were on this open source Flash list together, like just email going back and forth, and we said, "All right, let's step up, let's figure this thing out." And it turned out the protocol wasn't even encrypted or anything, so you could see it with Wireshark pretty clearly. A lot of the stuff was AMF, which was already figured out by another group, kind of this messaging layer. And so we start filling in the pieces and then crack the code essentially with a black box reverse engineer of it. And that was the inception of Rev5, the open source project, which became a alternative to the Flash communication server. For some reason, probably because I'm a musician, I don't mind being on stage and like talking to people and everything else. So I ended up kind of being the front, spokesman of the organization, or the loosely formed, you know, uh, group of developers, and started speaking at conferences, and then just kind of accelerated from there, where there was such a demand for doing custom work around this product we built, that we ended up quitting our day jobs, creating a company around it. And so that was the inception of it. We started the company, first iteration, it was 2007. And then I guess fast forward many years into the future, Flash died off, right? It kind of became banned from browsers and everything like that. And we're like, rather than just contributing everything as open source, we saw these use cases that needed to be solved, that the standard web stuff wasn't doing. Scalable real time video streaming for a variety of use cases just wasn't being met. So we decided to figure out how to hack WebRTC and make it work at its scale, and kind of do one to many in real time. Figured out how to get that, made a pro product, raised some money, kind of did a reiteration of the company, and that's kind of where we're at today. Started out with a licensed product, and then kind of more recently launched a SaaS model, or platform as a service model.
Also, who would have thought that dedicating your life to being a Flash programmer eventually would result in you having absolutely no job opportunities of any kind? Uh, it seemed like it would never go away, at least where I sat.
It was,
And then,
yeah, it was crazy. But I think that's true with technology in general. Is you can't rest on any one like technology for too long because I mean that's the whole point. It's always changing, right? That's the one
sure,
guarantee you have in technology is it's always going to be changing. And we're known for WebRTC, although like man, lately it's all about MOQ, right, or media over QUIC, and that's that I do believe that's the future of the next iteration, if you will, of the real time video streaming on the web.
all right. And what else? Mock is obviously top of mind right now. What else in terms of technologies and things that are coming sort of around the corner are exciting to you? What else sets your toe a tapping these days?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. We've been doing a lot of stuff with AI as well on video uh, or visual language models, I guess is what it's called, right? And using that to detect things in the scenes, doing things uh, like what is happening right now. A lot of this is like surveillance kind of stuff, detection of like, oh, there's something bad happening in the scene, alert police to it, or there's guy in a uh, flipping the bird on a broadcast. Right now we have people sitting there watching this stuff and then cutting it off, like
Yeah.
blurring it out, and then 10 seconds later it goes out. I think a lot of those problems are going to be solved with AI in an interesting way. There's some other ones we're working on that I don't really want to talk about yet, at least not on a podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mystery, suspense.
But yeah, some very cool stuff that we're doing around a visual language model stuff.
Yeah.
But I also see people innovating on kind of a codec side, and then I think predictive analysis and trying to like could do better compression, better and faster. What do you call it? Transcoding.
Hmm.
Um, there's a few of those like, NetInt has been one that's kind of taken a hardware approach to that, which I think is interesting. And then there's Visinular, which is a really hard one to pronounce, but pretty neat company that's kind of taking a way of compressing video that's uh, taking the type of content that's going to be out, creating an algorithm which then compresses it, but much better and faster and then lowers the bit rate and keeps the quality up. I see a lot of those kind of companies that are out there doing pretty neat stuff. Um, I think drone streaming is also a really interesting one. We do a lot of work in that space, and I think the regulations around drones is changing, at least in the U.S., but also elsewhere, where you're going to see more of these use cases of little things flying around. They need video for that, and doing interesting things with it. Hopefully not too much big brother stuff, but more like actual useful stuff.
One of the questions I frequently ask people in the video world is, broadcast has been around now for coming up on 100 years pretty soon, at
Yeah.
least in the way that we know it today. And in that sense, I still think all the streaming stuff is pretty much in its infancy in the grand scale of human endeavors. Um, how different do you see things looking, say, 5 years from now versus where we are today in terms of the way people consume content?
I mean, I think it's a multi-pronged situation. Like you're still going to have people watching standard VOD, like movies, right? That's not going to change. People are still going to watch series like, TV shows and Netflix series and stuff like that too. There's still going to be live sports. But I think there is going to be some emerging new stuff that hasn't happened before. And that's more that interactive thing. I know people have been predicting interactive TV for ages, but I think we're at a point now where this is all possible. And we're going to see things like online game shows where it pulls in the audience from their phone into the show. And then they're like, this morphed thing that's really interesting, and I think AI is going to be a big part of that too, like kind of creating stuff on the fly. Also being able to produce things in a way that you weren't able to do before, creating scenes around, like it's just somebody joining from their like living room. All of a sudden, we could knock out the background in a way that makes them look like they're part of the show on the show, like without using like AI to do that kind of work. It would have been pretty much impossible. But now I think we're at a point where we can do that. And so I think we're going to see stuff emerging where interactivity, the latency to live video has got to be really low for massive scale. So I think this is where MOQ really comes in and helps. But then, that two-way interactivity and pulling in a caller. So a lot like radio, right? Right. Hey, we'll take the next caller now. But imagine doing that with video, but it's not just a talking head in a block, right? Or like a square going on the screen. I mean, that's the obvious, like easy way to do it today. But what if that person actually looked like they were on the set in there, and they're still talking and still using their phone to do that? I think this is where we're going with it. It's a little bit like, all the hype around the metaverse a while back.
Mhm.
But I don't think people wanted to wear those like big, headsets and goggles, and like it's just not going to happen, right? But if you could
Yeah,
create a similar experience without doing that, I think people would be into it.
for sure.
Hopefully, I'm making a bit of sense here, but I think that things like that are on the horizon, and I can't obviously predict it, right? That's also the fun part. I want to help make the technology for other people to figure out. Oh, I had this idea. Maybe I can put it together now. So
Mm, awesome. Well, Chris, thank you for your time. Um,
yeah, thank
I
you.
hope I hope to see you again soon, which I'm sure I will. And yeah, for those who are interested in what we're doing together with Mock, you can check out either the CacheFly website or the Red 5 website. We'll be doing a lot of integration work moving forward to make Mock a reality for people in the real world in production, and I know we're both excited about it.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see what people build with this stuff that we're putting out there. So
Yeah,
awesome, Matt.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
This is different, another round, so much more to talk about. Gonna aim to satisfy with help from CacheFly. Get to it fast. Right here on the Anycast. Make it strong, make it last. Right here on the Anycast. The Anycast Podcast, brought to you by CacheFly.